Imagine a young man boarding a city bus wearing a heavy overcoat. Underneath that coat, he's carrying a bomb packed with nails and rat poison. We don't know his income, we don't know his education level. We have no idea if he was popular in school or struggling to pay rent. Yet, even with a total blank slate regarding his personal life, we can predict the exact trigger that pushed him to push that button. It is incredibly common to assume that an act like this stems from crushing poverty, a lack of education, or deep psychological trauma. We reach for a political grievance or an economic disadvantage to explain away the horror. Specific internal claims about reality operate as the mechanical triggers for physical violence. At a neurological level, a belief is a principle of action. It is an internal blueprint that dictates how a human being navigates the external world. Consider how drastically your behavior would change right now if you suddenly became convinced you had exactly 2 weeks left to live. That single internal idea would immediately dictate your priorities, your relationships, and your physical movements. For someone convinced that the creator of the universe rewards killing unbelievers with eternal paradise, a suicide attack represents the straightforward internal logic of that worldview. This behavioral pipeline poses a new kind of threat because our tools of destruction have evolved. While the internal motivation remains identical to that of an 11th century martyr, the modern individual can now project that motivation through biological or nuclear weapons. The destructive radius of a single irrational actor scales outward. A lone individual no longer needs an army to render a city uninhabitable. They just need the right materials and absolute certainty in their cause. The combination of archaic dogma and modern physics turns the protection of blind faith into a lethal threat to human survival. We are dealing with what you might call epistemological black holes. These are belief systems that demand total certainty from their followers, while aggressively insulating themselves from any requirement to provide evidence. They rely on ancient texts or political manifestos that claim to deliver the final, unalterable word on how human beings should live, completely immune to the possibility of being proven wrong. Once a text is accepted as infallible, the world neatly splits in two. There are those who submit to the truth, and there are outsiders, infidels, class enemies, or heretics who stand in the way. This creates a powerful empathy eradicator. When an ideology explicitly labels outsiders as agents of evil or damnation, seeking compromise with them isn't seen as diplomatic. It is framed as a moral failure. Any system of thought that claims to possess perfect, unimprovable answers about the nature of the universe mathematically guarantees conflict with everyone who hasn't accepted those answers. We see this clearly in religious extremism. Doctrines of martyrdom successfully bypass the basic human survival instinct by turning self-destruction into a divine command, framing suicide as a career opportunity in the afterlife. But this mechanism does not require a god. The exact same lethal pipeline maps perfectly onto secular, atheistic forms of totalitarianism. The worst political regimes of the 20th century functioned entirely like dogmatic faiths. They relied on their own infallible literature to dictate absolute truth, demanding unquestioning loyalty from their citizens. They stripped away traditional religious architecture only to replace it with their own. Instead of temples, they built labor camps. Instead of clergy, they empowered the secret police. Operating on the conviction that they were building a perfect society, these regimes slaughtered tens of millions of people. Their actions were completely unbound by evidence, driven entirely by the demand for ideological purity. Whether the promised utopia is a heavenly garden for the faithful or a perfected, classless state for the worker, the structural DNA driving the bloodshed is identical. It is unquestioned dogma. Yet our modern response to this danger is a pervasive cultural taboo. We are consistently told it is impolite or even bigoted to directly criticize deeply held beliefs. This stance of moderation, the social demand that we respect unverified claims simply because they are part of a tradition, inadvertently creates a protective shield. It provides the exact cover fundamentalism needs to grow unchecked. Consider the 2002 Miss World riots in Nigeria. Over 200 people were butchered in the streets because of an unverified belief that the creator of the universe was deeply offended by women wearing bikinis. As long as society actively exempts faith and ideology from the basic standards of rational criticism, it will continue to nurture the very environments where this kind of violent extremism thrives. If we continue to offer blind respect to unquestionable dogmas, we remain trapped in zero-sum games. We are forced to navigate perpetual, intractable conflicts over territory and resources with groups who believe their instructions come directly from another world. To break this cycle requires a sharp departure in how we communicate. Every ideological claim, no matter its historical pedigree or religious significance, must be aggressively subjected to reason and evidence. True peaceful collaboration among human beings relies on one core mechanism: a shared willingness to have our minds changed by new, verifiable facts. Discarding the cultural habit of shielding bad ideas from criticism is the primary requirement for the long-term survival of civilization.